Fabrizio, here we go.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for joining us at your busiest time of the year.
Thank you.
How frantic is it?
Completely crazy. First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's a big pleasure for me to be here. So thanks again, really. And it's really, really pure madness, I would say. Spending all day on my phone. I was even late here, so sorry again, but my phone is really blowing up and it's impossible to stop. But, it's my favorite time of the year. I love it. I love to be in contact and in touch with people all day. And so ready for the final hours.
Because football's so global, I presume you don't get much sleep on this last week.
Oh, impossible. Last night was like 2 hours, so that's my life.
Fabrizio, how did you get into this?
Look, I started when I was 17, a kid, I would say. I was in Napoli. I'm from Napoli. My family is still there. And so I was there and I was writing on very small websites. Then one day, my life changed because I was practicing on very small Italian websites. And one day he called me from Barcelona. He was not an agent. He was a guy working in La Masia in the Academy of Barcelona. And he calls me. I still don't know how he had my phone number because I was not an important journalist. I was just a normal guy trying on a small website. And he called me and he told me, I'm a guy who was trying to approach some players here in La Masia. Was completely different football. Imagine, it was like 13 years ago. I'm trying to approach some players. I'm a big friend of the agent of one of these players, Mauro Icardi. And so if you can please publish something on your website about Mauro Icardi and Gerardo Deulofeu, these two players who are in Barcelona Academy, so I can show them that I'm making some rumors around them. And at the end, I can try to approach them and enter into people managing the future. And that's how I started. I said, okay, no worries, send me some information about these players, how they play, how are their skills. I published those informations. And then Icardi moved from Barcelona to Sampdoria and then from Sampdoria to Inter. It was my first news. I broke the story of Mauro Icardi joining Inter. And then going from there, I moved to Milano and I started to spend like 6-7 years every single day during the transfer window in January and the summer around the city. Hotels, restaurants, meeting with people, agents, directors, presidents, players. And that's how I built the network. And then social media, and that's the story.
How do you get paid? How do you get your salary?
There are different ways. It could be on traditional media. So, with, for example, working with newspapers or TV, this kind of collaborations, but also new media like social media platforms, right. Helping to build some collaboration. So there are different ways. This is not easy because sometimes you have to be creative, not just as a journalist, but also as an agent of yourself. So I try to do my best. But I like it. I like challenges in general. And so,
how difficult is it to work out what's a genuine story? And often I imagine a lot of your contacts are from agents trying to push their players in certain positions, flying kites, so to speak. How trusted are they? Do you build up that over time?
Yeah, it's not easy at all. Honestly, it's not easy at all, especially after what happened this summer with Saudi stories. It's not easy. I was lucky enough to be in Saudi in January when Cristiano had his debut with Al Nassr, and so I had the chance to build some contacts there, but it was really complicated at the beginning of the summer transfer window to be in touch with the correct people. And in general, it's not easy when you have big platform, big numbers, a lot of people is approaching you, trying to sell you stories. And so for me, it's absolutely crucial to be accurate. This has always been my mission number one. Try to be accurate. Take some time, even if you're not first on the story, it's important to be accurate. So this is what I'm trying to do. I have some contacts and some sources that I trust 100%. So if they send me a message or they call me, I know that story is 100% correct because they are never creating any issue to me. But many times now with, again, big numbers, a lot of people try to approach you and try to tell you things. So it's not easy. It takes time. But I think the only way to be successful in transfer market journalism is the obsession. You have to be on it every single day. If you want to relax, it's not going to be for you. So it's very complicated.
So do you speak to players who want to move as well, or is it just your agents? Or...
Yeah, this is something new, honestly, because till like 2-3 years ago, it was almost impossible. Then I think Instagram changed the game. That because, for example, on Twitter, a couple of years ago, it was impossible to get in touch with players. It was not that kind of platform. It's an excellent platform, but was completely different approach with people on the platform. Now with Instagram, it's easier. So a lot of players are directly texting, or I'm texting them too sometimes to ask information. So sometimes they tell me, please, can you say something about me because I want to leave the club? So yes, it's happening. And it's something strange. It feels still strange to me, but sometimes also big names are texting and they want to receive information or share information. So this is the new era of the transfer market, probably.
So you get top players sliding into your DMs, do you? Fabrizio, do you ever anger football clubs? Do you ever get managers or coaches or coming on to you saying, why are you doing this? You got that wrong information, or you're pushing our player down a certain route?
Yeah, it always happens. I won't say every day, but it's always happening. And I think it's normal. I really respect them. I understand that sometimes they want to save the stories. But look, one of the best parts of my job is that everything I'm doing is always, with good faith. So I'm never going to create a problem because I have to help someone or try to get some player out of the club. This is something that I would never do. If you start doing this one time, it's the end of your job in the transfer market industry. So, for example, it happened to me that it was a very big story. It was in March, end of March, when Bayern decided to fire Nagelsmann and to bring in Thomas Tuchel as new coach. That was very surprising, out of nowhere. I broke the story, and I remember the reaction was very furious to me, like, what is this? Why did you break the story? But then the sources at Bayern respected me because they told me, you tried to call us. You spent 2 hours calling us before sharing the story. And we really respect that because we were angry the first moment we saw the story out. Okay, we were not happy. But then you tried to check the story. You were not just reporting what you know and nothing else. So for me, that was very important and made me understand once again that it's always important to be in good relations.
What is your biggest coup? What is the biggest thing that you've revealed?
Look, there are a couple of scoops. For me, the favorite one remains Bruno Fernandes to Manchester United because it changed my life.
In what way did it change your life?
Because I was reporting on Italian football till that moment, also something on European football. But in that case, with Bruno, it really changed my life because I understood that there was ground to make something special on European and international transfer market. I had the story of Bruno joining Man United after spending the whole summer telling Man United fans on Twitter, no, he's not coming. And all the people shouting at me like, no, he's coming. In the Portuguese and English press, they're saying he's almost done. And I was like, no, he's not joining. Then in January, when he joined the club, I had the picture of Bruno with his agent on the private flight ready to go to Manchester. And that moment changed my life. The biggest one, I would say, this Nagelsmann-Tuchel story was really incredible. I was really shocked when I heard about that because Nagelsmann was in a fantastic position at Bayern, so it was completely unexpected. But my favorite remains the one about Zinedine Zidane leaving Real Madrid and deciding to leave the club. It was absolutely incredible to me because, you can have many stories, but when it's Zinedine Zidane and when it's Real Madrid, is something else.
Tell us, how did you get that story then?
Look, I was playing football. It was the night of the Europa League final between Villarreal and Manchester United. I still remember that. I was playing five-side football with my friends. I was in Sardinia, so enjoying some time with my friends. Then the ball goes out. I go to check my phone, as I always do.
Well, when you're playing five-a-side football, you still check your phone when the ball goes out of play?
I have to. And so I was checking my phone. I look at the message, and was one guy telling me, look, there is a message in Real Madrid chat with all the players where Zinedine Zidane said, tomorrow I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to speak to Florentino Perez. It's over for me here. And I decided to leave the club. And so I was checking on Zidane's side, but then after 2-3 checks, I got the confirmation, and that's how I got the story. But it was really, really big for me. I was like, okay, Zidane was an incredible football player, an incredible legend of the game, and now to report on Zidane at Real Madrid and to broke the story was something incredible.
Did you finish the five-a-side game, or did you just rush
no,
off?
No, I didn't. Impossible.
You let your teammates down, but with good reason for that.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people now, I think, it's always been an interesting world, transfers and stuff. So you've got many competitors, I suppose. Do they sometimes get a little bit jealous? And I think there's a lot of stealing of stories, isn't there? If somebody does it.
Yeah.
I notice if it's someone else's story that you will put their @ in at the bottom of your tweet or Instagram post.
Of course. I think it would be not human to cover the whole international transfer market with one single person. So it would be stupid, I think, from me to pretend something like that. That's why I'm not jealous at all. And I think that if the industry is growing, it's just positive for me and for all the people working into it. Because I think when I started, when I was like 18, 20, the transfer market journalist was not at this level at all. It was full of stupid gossips, fake stories. So now the accurate journalism is completely on a different level. And I am a big fan of some people doing this job in Spain, in Germany, in England. For example, David Ornstein. I always see people in Twitter putting me against David, but he's one of my best friends in the football industry, and I think he's fantastic journalist. I am only admiring his job, as many others. So I don't see any competition. I think till things are respectful as they are on the social media, non-traditional media, is something that I'm always respecting, and I'm very happy to be part of that.
You must never sleep. You must be checking your phone 24/7.
Look, it's almost like this. Then it depends on the moments. I think it's crucial to understand the moments. There are moments, you know better than me, that sometimes when there are games, for example, on Saturday and Sunday, it's easier to rest a bit more because nothing is happening. All the directors are maybe traveling with the squad, so nothing is happening on the transfer market. So you have to understand the moments, but there are moments like this week where you can sleep. So it's like 2-3 hours. And even when I try to sleep, I tell you, it happened to me. It was like last week. I was sleeping. It was like 6 a.m. in the morning. And I woke up and I was dreaming of something about Chelsea signing the striker. It was, but really, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. This is not a good news for me and for my mental health, but it's the reality. I was dreaming of Chelsea signing a blonde player. So I was like, okay, what's happening? And then I was checking my phone. It was just dreaming. That's it.
Fantastic. Fabrizio, would you like to just check your phone briefly to see if we can get a scoop during this
I received a message about Luis Felipe from Betis going to Al Ittihad. 22 million euros plus 3 add-ons. So that was the last one.
There you go. I mean, sadly, this won't sound like an exclusive in 3 days' time when we're going to put it out actually on transfer day. We're doing this on the Tuesday because obviously transfer deadline day would have been a little bit too much for you.
Brilliant.
Has player power made a difference in the transfer world now? We see some players, refusing to take part in training. I think wasn't it Mateus Nunes has done something similar in the last week?
Yes, I think this is the new trend of the transfer market. The players have big power, I would say. Also, look what happened with Caicedo. Caicedo's story was crazy this summer, but it really changed because of the player, because Liverpool had everything ready with Brighton, and Caicedo for 12 hours was a Liverpool player till he decided to send a message to Jurgen Klopp multiple times during the day, because Klopp tried during the afternoon, but Caicedo was like, no, I want to go to Chelsea. And so even for Brighton was kind of issue to restart the negotiation, to take 48 hours more. They were very able in the negotiation with Chelsea because at the end they got more than what they received from Liverpool, but it's not always easy. So yes, the players are in control now, I would say, yes.
What do you think is the significance now of the interest from Saudi Arabia and the amount of players that could go there?
This is a big problem, I think, especially for the timing. I really respect what they're doing because I think it's cycles in football. It can happen that there are new nations or new leagues that are trying to show their ambition. I think the biggest problem is about the timing of the transfer window, closing 1 week after the European transfer window. I understand many people in the industry being very worried with that because you can tempt player on the 3rd or 4th or 5th of September and you don't have any chance to react. So this is the biggest issue, I think. And also, there is a lot of people, now it's more clear because it's the end of the transfer window, but at the beginning of the window, like end of May, beginning of June, a lot of fake people was entering into the business, just trying to approach some people from Saudi. It was completely new, not just for journalists, but also for people into the clubs. They were not prepared, probably, to negotiate with the correct people.
Yeah.
I still remember many issues in many deals. For example, Brozovic to Al Nasser was full of fake people trying to enter the story. So it's not easy. It's like restarting, not just for journalists, but also for some directors, for some presidents. You have to rebuild your network because there is new people approaching the market. So now it's easier. It took 3 months, but at the beginning it was not easy at all.
How far do you think you can take this? Because obviously you've got a massive following and it's done in a different way. I know a lot of journalists, like you've mentioned before, may be happy and some may not be happy, but you've got a different approach. How far can you take it?
Honestly, I will take it as far as I can in terms of enjoying that. Now I'm happy because I'm enjoying not just the professional side, but even the human side. My favorite moment in the transfer window is the day after when I call my favorite sources and I start speaking in normal way as Fabrizio and not as the journalist. That is my favorite side of the transfer window. But if you start feeling too much pressure, if you are not enjoying, that is the moment when you have to stop. So I always say it's like for a player, no? It's important to understand, and you can understand way better than me, when is the moment to say, okay, stop. Now it's time to retire, to leave this job, or to maybe do something different, because you can't go forever. I already know that. I think it's going to take some time. I hope like 3, 4, maybe 5 years more, but I won't continue for that forever because it's going to be too too difficult. So I think 5 years maybe.
Do you have a team behind you? Do you have people helping you, or you go solo?
I just have 2 guys who help me with editing the videos, and I produce like on YouTube. And then for all the other stuff, everything you see posted on my social media accounts is always posted by myself. I would never allow anyone to publish anything in my name. It's a respect, I think, for all the people following me, but also I would never be able to control that. And in the transfer market, how crucial is every single word. If you say agreement or verbal agreement, is completely different. So for me, it's crucial to control everything, to post everything by myself. And so I would never change that. Even in the contact with my sources, I would never allow anyone to call and say, I'm working with Fabrizio, can you share information with me? That's not in my style. I like to be in control of everything. So some help with the editing of the videos because I'm terrible at that. And then it's fine.
Well, it's impossible, isn't it, to get everything right? You're going to get some things wrong. When it goes wrong and the information, it turns out to be incorrect or doesn't happen, how disappointing is that?
Look, at the beginning of my career, it was very disappointing. So I was like mad for 2-3 days. I was very, very sad for a couple of days. Then now I understand that the importance of sending the correct message to people. If you want to be part of the transfer window, I mean, as a follower too, just looking at it and being informed on the transfer news, you have to understand that part of this jungle is also for some deals to collapse for multiple reasons. For the medical test, maybe for the wife of the player changing her mind, or maybe because the club is too slow to complete the documents and another club is jumping into the race. It happened with Danjuma, for example, with Everton in January. That was a done deal, but really done deal. The player was there at the ground taking pictures with the shirt. So I can't control that. I can't sign contracts. That's what I always say. My job is to tell you when there is an agreement, when there is a player traveling for medical test. That's what I have to do. Then I can't sign contracts. So I'm trying to make people understand that sometimes this can happen. Otherwise, you can wait for the official statement. You don't need Fabrizio or any other journalist.
Do you know in any way what goes into players' contracts now as well, which would be quite interesting to people? I suppose the salaries you can publish sometimes.
Yeah, honestly, I always try to avoid that part because you can't always be 100% informed. And I know it really annoys players. So I think this is something that sometimes we have in football. Sometimes you put the salary because you have clear information, but until I have 100% clear and confirmed information on the player side, and I make sure that the player wants to share that. For example, it happened with Neymar. When Neymar joined Al Hilal, they really wanted from Neymar camp to share the details of the salary. There are many other players who prefer to keep it private, and I really respect that.
Why would they want to share that information?
Because Neymar is the player who moved the biggest salary probably in the history of football recently with Paris Saint-Germain, Barcelona, and Al Hilal. Maybe because of that. I don't know, but I always try to respect the source. So, if the player doesn't want, I'm not going to share their private information. So at the end, it's private information.
Who do you support?
Watford.
How? What? How and why?
Why? Because I was at TV when there was that crazy game with Troy Deeney scoring against Leicester.
Oh, what?
And I was buzzing, really. Yes. My link with Watford because of the Italian ownership. So obviously with the Pozzo family, I started to follow English football. And for me, this attraction to Watford, London, the Italian family taking care of the club, for me was really attractive. Then that game with Troy Deeney scoring, with Gianfranco Zola on the bench, for me was like incredible. That's not possible.
So let's get this straight, Fabrizio. You support Watford because they beat my team, Leicester.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but that's the story.
Jesus, that's a scoop. Fabrizio, I know you've got to go. You've got a very busy few days ahead of you, and thanks so much for talking to us. It's been fascinating. Thank you.
Thanks to all of you. Really, it was a pleasure.